like to call this meeting of the Goose Creek CISD Board of Trustees to order. The time is now 6:01 p.m. Mr. Sampson, was this meeting properly posted?
Yes.
And do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Good. I will turn opening exercises over to Ms. Jackson.
Okay, welcome President Clem, school board members, and Dr. O'Brien. The opening exercises for the October 3rd Board of Trustees meeting will be provided by the students at Asheville Smith Elementary. Sergio Alvarez will be presenting the pledges and will begin the opening ceremonies with a prayer led by Mr. Sampson. Everyone please rise for the prayer and remain standing for the pledges.
Oh, thank you. Father God, we gather here tonight to make and grow giants in Goose Creek CISD. We thank you for each and every one who's here tonight, that they made it safely and will make it home safely. Father, bless the board, that we make decisions that are right for the district. We make the decisions that are right for the community. We ask you in this name, in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, and you may be seated. Oh, excuse me, we got to do the pledges first, sorry.
For the students here? Okay.
They're coming in.
Well, I thought all those students here had one hand. I was like, dang, that's a little guy.
Thank you, and you may be seated. The following students from Asheville Smith Elementary will be performing Oh, I Love America and I Love My Country. Students are The students that will be performing are Camelia Aguilar, Norma Aguirre, Alyssa Alanis, Sergio Alvarez, Isabella Corona, Andrew Cruz, Jose Herrera, Kaylee Lowell, Aaliyah Mendetta, Emily Mendetta, Elvian Olivio, Jalen Ruse, Griselle Rangel. The students are under the direction of music teacher Miss Shannon Chance and principal Miss Erin Clement.
All right, thank you, students. We really enjoyed your singing tonight. Do we have parents, grandparents, or other family members present tonight? Would you stand and let us recognize you? Thank you very much for sharing your students' talent with us tonight. We enjoyed their performance.
Thank you, Asheville Smith. What a great performance. We appreciate y'all. Okay, at this time, we want to turn it over. We have several recognitions and programs that we would like to recognize for their outstanding achievements. Will Dr. McCall, Deputy Superintendent for Administrative Services, come up to the podium at this time?
Good evening, Mr. Clem, Board of Trustees, Dr. O'Brien. It is my honor and pleasure to stand before you to present an acknowledgement to Lockwood, Andrews, and Newnham, also known as LAN. I will start by reading the resolution as the team begins to make their way up front. Lockwood, Andrews, and Newnham Incorporated, LAN, is comprised of J.P. Grom, Darwin Sims, Clem Medina, Brandy Rissakar, Simon Penn, Erwin Inahado, and John Carey. Whereas the district entered into a partnership with LAN in 2014, whereas the district approved a contract with LAN to perform program management for the 2013 Facilities Bond Program, major projects, and subsequently renewed for the 2019 Facilities Bond. Whereas LAN provided program management for several projects, including 5 elementary campuses, 1 junior school campus, Stewart Career Tech High School, Impact Early College High School, Transportation Center, Robotics Center, Goose Creek Memorial Wing Addition, Lee Auditorium, Junior School Running Tracks, Lee Fine Arts Building, Gentry Fine Arts renovations, Sterling High School Mechanical, Electrical, and Plumbing upgrades, and the Education Service Center and various district-wide renovations. Whereas the approximate value of the construction projects for the 2013 and 2019 bond were more than $600 million, overseeing an additional $50 million in capital improvement projects. Whereas LAN program managers work side by side with GCCISD Facilities Planning and Construction Department on a daily basis. Whereas the many services LAN provides the district include program scope, schedule and budget verification, master budget, schedule development, community engagement and public relations, project prioritization, capital improvement planning, design criteria development, delivery and contracting strategies, designer and contractor procurement, design and construction oversight, change order management, value engineering, construction inspection, program process reporting, owner's representation, and much more. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the Board of Trustees of Goose Creek CISD, do hereby commend the members of LAN for their immense effort in supporting the district and providing the highest quality facilities, utilizing modern technology to maximize efficiencies to the benefit of our students, faculty, and citizens. Here, we continue to grow giants through our business partnerships. Congratulations, LAN.
Next, I would like to turn it over to Police Chief Davis Smith and Brandon Benoit, attorney at Reed, Strickland, and Gillette.
We'd like to thank all of you for your service.
Our last recognition will be presented by Mr. Ray Levan, Director of Fine Arts.
Good evening, Mr. Clem, Dr. O'Brien, Board of Trustees. It is my great pleasure to be in front of you just for a short and sweet moment to announce the donation of a trailer from the GCM Band Boosters to the GCM Band Department. It is going to be a truck-drawn trailer, really nice enclosed, and the total donation is in the amount of $11,290. So it will really benefit our students in addition to the semi. So in those situations where the semi might be a little bit of overkill, we have other options to get our students equipment where they need to go. So we're very pleased to announce that.
Okay, this concludes our recognitions and acknowledgments. At this time, I will turn it back over to you, Dr. O'Brien, and Board of Trustees. Okay, so we do have one band booster here. If she could come up and we'll take a picture. I really just wanted to see if y'all are paying attention up there. So at this time, that concludes our recognitions and acknowledgments, and so I would like to turn it back over to Dr. O'Brien and the Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Mrs. Jackson. All right. Yeah. We will now have a public hearing considering redistricting Goose Creek CISD Board of Trustees districts. And gentlemen, if you'll just introduce yourself to everyone for the record.
My name is Rick Waltershad. I'm the Director of Transportation and Special Projects.
Hi, Chris Gilbert. I am one of the attorneys at Thompson & Horton, and I have been assisting on this project.
It's that time where we're going to have this public hearing. Long story short is every 10 years we do the census, and every 10 years we have to re-examine the school district and its single-member districts to make sure that they're equitable across the board. And that's what this does, in making sure that... I thought I had to hold it down. I'm sorry. I apologize. It's that time of the year. Every 10 years we go through this to make sure that every vote has a count. We've had substantial growth in our district, which has required us to re-examine it. This is, if we begin to look at it based upon what we currently have up here, it's the 2020 census voter distribution when we applied the prior maps. And you'll see that in each one of the the columns, you'll see that what the current population is based upon those maps. So as our district has grown, we've seen a population shift throughout the district along with that growth. So we basically had, in some of the areas, we had upwards of 20+% difference deviations from one district, single-member voting districts to the other. The maps below will show you that the information below, when applied to the new maps, you'll see that it is much more equitable with a very low percentage. I think the highest that we had was a 2%, ensuring that every vote counts. Here is the old map when applied. This is what we currently are basing those numbers off of from 2010 census. And here is the current map, the proposed map for the 22 proposed map based upon the 2020 census. Again, the same numbers when applied to each map. I'll let you take it over if you'd like to add.
So the legal standard here is that you need to have substantially equal population in each district. And that's legally defined to mean you can't have more than a 10% deviation between the largest and the smallest. And because of population shifts y'all had, which virtually every school district is dealing with, you had gone over that percentage. So that required you to redraw and then re-adopt the new plan. And the new plan is the one that's before you tonight. And this is the hearing that we hold. And you'll hold a public hearing to see if you receive any information from the public. And then y'all as a board can decide either that you feel you have enough information and you can go ahead and adopt the plan tonight, or you could put it off if you felt you needed to. You've got some more time if you think you need to look at more information or receive more information from the public. So that's really up to y'all tonight. But we think the plan that y'all have been presented with is not only a good plan, it's probably a better plan than y'all had 10 years ago. It's certainly a lot smoother. You'll see there are a lot less sort of jagged lines and things like that, which happens in these plans. But the current proposed plan is a very solid plan and not only is legally, meets all the legal requirements, it looks really good on paper too, I think. So.
Okay, since this is a public hearing, if any person present has questions or comments concerning this, now would be the time to speak. Okay, sure.
Better than I just turned 40 and I'm telling you I had to move up closer and I still couldn't even read it all. And then to be able to compare side by side and what it is. So that's like kind of a big concern in that. And then and also to be able to review the demographics and what have you and what it changes, where it's going from and what it is. And then another question of concern, just with the way that our board or our district has changed throughout the years from where the maps were drawn up initially and the way that we had incredibly jagged lines that were big red flags. And I've seen so many elections that have come through, just the question and the possibility of there's districts, larger districts are also starting to go more towards like a hybrid, a mixed system where we have quadrants and at-large board members. I mean, if you look at Lee College Board of Regents, who is an at-large board, and it is incredibly diverse, and it seems more representative of our community, and that has been a concern that I have heard many of people stand up and speak to when things happen. So I'd like to know, are there the pros and the cons to that of at least having a mixed district with that large members? And then also if the public could please have the opportunity to review these maps other than squinting on a screen.
Did you hear the question?
I did.
Okay, go ahead.
So again, that's the point of tonight's meeting, for the public to be able to look at the maps and comment on them. I think you've met your legal obligations. If you want to provide more of an opportunity, that's something you could do, but that's really up to the board tonight.
How much time we got? You said we had more time. How much time do
You
we
could
have?
definitely do it at the next board meeting.
Okay.
We'd have enough time. Just to answer one of the other questions, so the speaker mentioned the possibility of going to a mixed plan. You do have an option to do a hybrid, so you can be all at large, you can be all single member district, or you can have a hybrid plan. Now, as a Texas school district, you can have at most 2 out of your 7 seats be at large. So that you can either have a 7-0 plan, a 6-1 plan, or a 5-2 plan. The only way you could go to a 4-3 plan or something less than that would be with under a court order. That's just state law. That's a state law provision that requires that of Texas school districts. Going to any kind of at-large plan is actually less diverse and would possibly cause more legal problems, because that is what you see a lot of the litigation on, is challenges to at-large plans, not to single-member district plans. So I don't know that that would increase diversity or anything like that. It's not. I'm not saying it's likely in this district to cause a legal challenge, but that at-large plans are what are being legally challenged at the moment.
Mr. Gilbert or Mr. Walshide, you could speak to the work that you've put in over the last several months regarding the objective to have as minimal changes as possible, yet bring about equity within each district regarding numerically. Yep.
Correct. As a district, we contracted these services out to Rice University's political science professors. We've pretty much gave them the instructions. We want it equitable, with very little input from the district, administration, or leadership. We want this to be as equitable as possible. They then took the new census numbers and applied their strategies to it to make sure that it is such equitable, as such equitable. It is done with population zones. That's why the edges do look jagged, because that's how the census is calculated in those zones. And those are made up across the United States. So you have a block, and this block represents this number of addresses and this number of homes, and then they take that and they make sure that every person that lives within that zone is counted, and they add those numbers to that zone, to the larger picture. And that's their process.
Due to the housing growth, it's created more density in some districts than others over the last decade, 12 years actually.
Correct.
And that's what's being addressed tonight.
Correct. We saw a lot of, and I'll just speak to the center of the district. We saw a big growth in there whenever the country club went away within the middle of Baytown, to give you an example. And even up north, we had to go up north. They had to go up north and grab some more students for that area. Then on the east side, they had to push a little bit to the east to gather some students, or to gather some addresses as well. So, yeah, there are some changes, but they are minor, in fact.
The objective is to have each district have similar numeric value and ethnic value of each district.
As best they can.
Right. It's limited by geographic residency to some degree.
Correct, in populations, correct, ethnic populations. You don't want to split an ethnic down the center, a large ethnic area down the center. But within that, they also looked at it. So you can see that the numbers are pretty equitable across. We had a 34% swing from the lowest to the highest. So that we had some problems that hopefully we will certainly be addressing with this.
Mr. Walterscheid, could you play Vanna for a moment? If we can bring the map back up, the proposed 2020 census. And the colors are slightly different between the districts on the two maps, and then on the paper here, they're hard to read. Could you identify each district on there?
Ooh, you're going to challenge me.
You are welcome to pull a lifeline.
Can I pull a lifeline from each one?
You can pull. I know where number 3 is. I can show you number 3. We can each go point out our own district.
While he's doing that, the goal when you do redistricting is to try to keep the districts that you have as much as possible and maintain incumbencies. You try to make them of substantially equal size. That doesn't always work with population. Y'all are actually unusual in that you had a large growth in the center, kind of in your old downtown type area. That's in a lot of school districts, we see the growth in the suburbs, and so we're having to shift for that. So y'all are a little unusual there. You want your districts to be compact and contiguous as much as possible. And so again, I think your new map is an improvement on the old map. And I'm not saying there was anything illegal or wrong with the old map, but I think the new map is a much better map and meets a lot of these goals even better.
The legal aspect of you must be within 20%? 10%
10% of the largest and the smallest. And I think you were at 40%, weren't you, before? 40% deviation. Right, the deviation. So it was a fairly significant deviation because of the movement you've had. They actually did a really good job of keeping the map as much as similar as to what it was and getting that 40% down to, what is it now? 2%, yeah.
This is going to be 3. Is going to be 1. This is our board president here, so this will be number 4, the dark blue. We're going to go right across up here to our, I don't know what my wife would call that, but I would call it almost pink. Coral. And I believe that's 5.
Have we ever had an at-large district?
Not since I've been here 15 years. The last time we did this.
All right, that takes an old person to answer. Back in the 80s, yeah. Well, I wasn't referring to you. I was referring to myself. But yeah, it was when I first moved to Baytown. They were under.
Thanks for volunteering.
They were under an order to either come up with single-member districts or it would be done through the court system. So it's been 40-plus years since we've had any kind of at-large. Of course, at that time, it was all at large.
So it's always been at-large or single-member district?
Right.
It's never been a combo or like a 6-1, 5-2, whatever.
Okay, would this be the time to ask questions about the integration of the new map and that process, or is that a later?
That's in the
issue?
Resolution, I believe.
I know, and so
I think that could definitely be part of this hearing.
Part of this hearing now, because I think in the resolution that we have coming up later, it's not very descriptive. It says something about like phasing it in.
Well, would you like to handle that?
Yeah. So the way, and I can tinker with the language if you want. What it basically means is that people, the default is that everybody is up at the next election. You have 7 board members up. That's the default. But the law also allows you to allow incumbents to serve out their term. So what the resolution as currently stated was, and we discussed this a little bit when I was here last time. Was that last month or 2 months ago? Yeah. What the resolution does is it allows anybody who's an incumbent and who still has 2 years on their term to serve those 2 years out, and then they'll run for re-election. If they run for re-election, they'll run for re-election in the new district, and then the other people are up now. And there's a chart that's attached. So you're going to have 3 people up for re-election in 2023, and then the other 4 board members will serve out the terms for the rest of the 2 years.
And that was Exhibit B in your packet.
Yes.
Right. And so my question really is, why is it done like that? They just redistrict Commissioner's Court. They just did our congressional seats, everything else, and then bam, all of a sudden I'm now Precinct 3, not Precinct 2. Why would we not just adopt the map and then all of a sudden whoever's in my new district is now under me? Why would that matter? Why would we wait until the election and then because that seems a little gray. If you, so in my District 3 is up for election in May.
Right.
If you make the new map lines for that election and the people in that new map line are now electing for District 3 and 6, and then what about the people who are being pulled from the district that the incumbent from, okay, am I making any sense?
You would still represent, I think I understand. You would still, when this map goes into effect, whatever map is decided upon, you would represent all of that zone, if you will, that you represent under the new map. However, when the new election would occur, only those individuals on that map in that zone would be able to vote for you. Does that make sense?
But they would technically still be in someone else's district, right, the incumbent. So they're in two districts at that moment, which doesn't make sense to me.
Not really.
The map takes effect when we voted in.
No, when you vote for the map.
That's not what it says on the resolution, though.
Yeah, it does.
The map takes effect immediately. It's just a matter of under the trustee form of government, y'all represent the entire district.
Right.
A trustee represents the entire district. It's just the method of election.
Mm-hmm.
And so but the map goes into effect immediately. It's just you have a 2-year period where you're right. There's a little bit of sort of philosophical. People are in both districts.
In two districts at one time, or neither, yeah.
And again, you don't have to do that. You could reelect the whole school district or everybody all at once. Most school districts just don't like to do that.
Yeah, no, I don't see that as the solution either.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's not changing. There's just the only thing that's changing are there's obviously some slight changes in the boundaries, but the manner in which you're elected and the bulk of the districts are staying the same.
I'm looking at my district, and I lose somewhat District 1.
Correct.
I'm losing a small percentage because I look at 2010 and then look at 2020, and I'm losing some numbers, but not a lot.
Correct.
But
and that's the inevitable fact. That's the inevitable outcome of the shifts in populations, because we then have to redistrict to keep the single member district form of government.
So right now I have, 3 years left. And you were saying something about 2 years, and you saying an incumbent would be 2 years?
Well, 2.5. I mean, because it's the May elections. So you'd be up in May of 2025, and you would continue to serve as part of in your current position until then.
I just don't want the single member district, especially in my area, to be lost, because that's where we had a problem a long time ago, where we had at-large and you didn't have a representative from my area.
Right. No, this is the same single member district. It's just slight changes in the boundaries.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because I don't want to have to get an attorney.
No, it's not at-large. I promise.
Because I know 2 or 3 of them, on my phone.
You can have them call me, and I will explain it to them as well.
Okay, one of them the district attorney, so I...
All right.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we're on the right page.
Okay, great. So I do have one question to the proposal of the redistricting. You mentioned that it's bad to separate these ethnic groups of people, right? So what's so important about keeping these ethnic groups together? How does that play into a factor when redistricting and having to play part when you're drawing the lines on the map?
The purpose, the law that is governing this is the Voting Rights Act. And the purpose of the Voting Rights Act is to maintain one vote, one person, one vote. Ultimately, one of the concerns of the Voting Rights Act is to make sure that minority populations in a school district get an opportunity to be represented. And that is the reason why most school districts, or a lot, governmental entities in general, but school districts in particular, go to single-member districts. Because when you have smaller single-member districts, that gives minority populations in a school district, which tend to be located in one area or another, that gives them an opportunity to elect a member to the school board. Whereas if everybody is voting for the entire district, which is an at-large system, it tends to dilute the vote of minorities. So when we look at the single-member districts, we try to make sure that it allows for that representation to occur.
So if we are keeping these minority districts, I guess, in the sense of redistricting, packing all together, doesn't that increase the likelihood of polarization by keeping them all together and practically packing them to only be represented by one? I guess my idea here is that by keeping these ethnic groups polarized within one district, I believe, it increases their likelihood to continue to suffer from these low-income areas when they're also being taxed at the same rate of these people. So I just have a question about that. If we can't separate these ethnic groups or minority groups to continue to be in the other districts, I see no way in how you mentioned the term ethnic to playing a part when redistricting.
I just wanted to bring back the attention to the slide that has the all the numbers from the census data. And you can look at the breakdown of the ethnic groups within each district. And they're all very, very similar. So pretty much populations all across Goose Creek CISD seem to be pretty well integrated, pretty well diverse. Of course, Hispanic is the largest population in our community, so they have the highest number in each district, but there's also representative ethnic groups in each district. I believe we have it broken down by Hispanic, white, non-Hispanic, non-Hispanic Black, non-Hispanic Indian, non-Hispanic Asian, and non-Hispanic other. So there's several categories which would give you a pretty good idea of how the population is spread out through the district. And the numbers are pretty close in most all of them.
Right. So how the questions here on the board were mainly asking of incumbency towards the next re-elections. Is this redistricting in regards to protecting the incumbency?
No, the redistricting is required by the Voting Rights Act. So it's not a choice. The district has to redistrict. It doesn't have a choice because of the fact, under federal law, because of the fact that the population has shifted. So there's no choice. Protecting incumbencies is one of the factors that we're actually supposed to look at. Keeping incumbents, and when I say protecting incumbencies, I don't mean protecting their ability to get elected. I mean keeping them in their same district. So you try to avoid redrawing lines so that suddenly you have 3 board members living in the same district, or no board members living in the district. So that's what I meant when I was talking about protecting incumbencies, is to try to keep the same people. They still have to run, they still have to get elected, but they get elected in roughly the same district as what they were elected in the last time.
Right. That's all the questions I have for the board today. Thank you, guys.
Anyone else? All right. Yes, ma'am. If you'd come to the mic, please.
Hi. Thanks for listening to me. I have other things to do tonight. I could be in a hot tub or, doing something else. But I decided to come here. It's important. And I'm looking at I'm sitting back there, but I'm looking at these screens. I cannot tell any of these numbers. Not any. Can anybody see these numbers if you're sitting down? Nobody can. And also the maps. Before I came to the meeting, I looked up on the website for the agenda. It did not tell me a whole lot. And I think that there should be more transparency. The maps, they should be on the internet where everybody in Baytown can look at them. The numbers, because we all came here because we care, but we cannot read those numbers even sitting next to the thing. So those numbers should also be on the internet where people can read them. That it should be more transparent. Does this make sense to you? Because we cannot see, and we're here because we care. So I would like to see more transparency, not just on this issue, but on other issues. If you've got it up there where people can read it, that should be on the internet for people to see after the meeting. Does that make sense? Thank you so much.
I've reviewed every one of these on the internet throughout the day today. Every screen that's been showed today showed up there. I mean, it's hard to read. It's even hard to read on my laptop. But I know it was posted this morning. If you need help, I'll show you where I found it. But I've read every single one of them. Just wanted to point that out, that they are on there. It was today. But I mean, I started looking at them at 9 o'clock this morning. Okay?
Anyone else? Okay, I would like to thank everybody for their comments, and I will thank you guys for your work and declare this public hearing closed. We will now move to the time in our meeting for citizens' participation. Citizens' participation is the time that the board will hear public concerns or public comments from those who have properly signed up to address the board at regular board meetings, which tonight is. The board shall permit public comment regardless of whether the topic is on the agenda posted with the notice of the meeting. Each speaker is reminded that he or she is limited in his or her presentation to a maximum of 3 minutes, which will be timed by our secretary, Mr. Sampson, and that you should respect confidentiality concerns and refrain from attacking the personal character of any individual student, staff member, or board member in addressing concerns or comments. Pursuant to state law and board policy BE legal, the board cannot consider or take action on concerns at this meeting unless they pertain to an item on the posted agenda for this meeting. Any deliberation or decision on an item that is not posted for consideration at this meeting shall be limited to a proposal to place the subject on the agenda of a future meeting. Our first speaker tonight will be Heather Hentages. And while she's on the way up, each person, like I said, will have 3 minutes, and Mr. Sampson will let you know when you have 1 minute left before he calls time. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board and Dr. O'Brien, I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you this evening. I am here to inform you about the decision to select 90 Degree in Texas Schools Health Benefits Program that manages our health benefits. Unfortunately, since the selection of 90 Degree and TSHBP, my husband, who is also an employee of Goose Creek, and other Goose Creek employees are being denied medications and procedures that they need to live a productive life. This denial of medication and procedures includes employees who selected Aetna. When I attempt to schedule appointments with doctors who I've visited for years, I must take additional steps to ensure the doctor's office to use Aetna because our account has to go through TSHBP. If the doctor is through Methodist, we have to go through a long-term convincing process that it is Aetna and not the TSHBP, which they no longer take. In addition, I suffer from rheumatoid arthritis, and 90 Degree will not authorize the payments for my medication I need to live pain-free. As a result, everyday tasks are getting harder to perform. Last week, I finally received approval for my migraine shots, but only until December, at which time they will decide whether they will cover again. My husband cannot get a prescription filled for an entire month's worth of insulin for his treatment of diabetes. 90 Degree will only authorize a 16-day supply for his medication. This denial of coverage forces him to pay twice as much as he did the same medication a month ago. When talking to other Goose Creek employees, they express that they are having the same issues. Our flex spending provider, Higginbotham, has also denied paying for vitamins and supplements, which many of us use to enhance our physical and mental well-being. I know this board is doing the best to reduce medical costs for Goose Creek and its employees. However, I'm asking you to consider other options for the next school year in who will manage our Goose Creek medical benefits. I ask you to find a reputable company to manage our medical benefits efficiently, a company that will not keep us awake at night wondering what our next fight will be to get medical care and medications we need to live a pain-free and productive life. Thank you for your time and attention. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker will be Sydney Joy Dado.
Good evening. My name is Sydney Joy, and I am Impact Senior Class Vice President. As the Senior Class's Vice President, a student of Impact and a student of Lee College, and a willing voice for my peers and friends, I have attended to speak on the matter of graduation regarding its location for the 2023 Impact class. Recent changes have moved graduation to Stallworth Stadium for all 5 high schools. Stallworth is a memorable part of our district, and I myself can recall some fun Friday Night Light memories. But many Impact students feel moving all schools to graduate at Stallworth is not the right decision. Our seniors, along with the underclassmen who look upon current and past graduates, are looking forward to graduating at our traditional location, the Lee College Arena. Lee College is a very important place to all of us. Just as we take English and algebra at Impact, we walk over to the college to excel in college chemistry and humanity classes. Just as we attend our home campus football and soccer games, we participate in Lee College's debate teams and fiestas. Just as I take pride in my job as a GCCISD PR squad member and vice president of my senior class, I also take much joy in my position as president of Lee College Student Honors Council and participating in Lee College's Student Body Association. Just thinking about participating in those activities makes me very happy, and I'm so smiley right now because it's so fun. Just as Impact is our school, so is Lee College. We all feel so strongly for both, and we all give our all to both. Graduating in our traditional Lee College arena means so much to us. Along with the traditional reasons, there are practical reasons for keeping Impact graduation at Lee College. There are around 90 students in the graduating class, and the largest high school in GCCISD has over 600 students. To set up our graduation in a place where we won't be even close to filling up the stands proves more difficulties than benefits for all the parties involved. Just imagine having 90 students at the bottom of Stallworth. I feel like that wouldn't really work. Along with the size, our families and friends are more familiar with the Lee College area than Stallworth. The Lee College Arena is the perfect size and place for our graduating class, and it has always been. Impact stands united on this topic. We ask that you reconsider your decision regarding our graduation location, and that you keep us at the Lee College Arena, keeping our traditions alive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker will be Adriana Curiel.
Hello and good evening. My name is Adriana Curiel. I am in 5 clubs and organizations at Impact Early College High School, and I'm also the parliamentarian of National Honor Society at Impact. aside from that, I'm parliamentarian of Lee College Student Honor Society, as you can tell by my attire. I'm also the vice president of Lee College Honor Society. I'm here today to speak of the injustice that Impact is facing in regards to graduation. Impact is an extremely small school of only about 90 graduating students this year. But we are just a part of this district as any other high school. As you may know, the graduation ceremonies of all the high schools in the district have been moved back to Stallworth Stadium. We understand why Sterling, Lee, and GCM are being moved. After all, it is their tradition to graduate there. The people of Baytown have wanted to bring back their tradition. But I'm asking for the same thing for Impact students. We just want to keep our tradition alive. We have always been the school that graduates at Lee College, along with Stewart more recently. And we look forward to walking the stage of the school that we've been at for 4 years. We started there and we want to end there. You see, Lee College is just as much our school as Impact. We proudly represent the college in everything we do. As juniors and seniors, the majority of our classes are taken at the college. We enjoy clubs and engage in student life there, as well as participating in things like Fall Fiesta, Spring Fling, and student versus professor games. We're even organizing a sort of masquerade at the college this year. I say all of this to convince you that the college is an important tradition to all Impact students. To further convince you that this is something that all of us want and not just the people that show up here today, I have a petition. I have the list of signatures from a petition that a lot of students signed. We have almost 400 signatures here, and I don't know if I'm allowed to give this to you, actually, but I'll just set it.
You can give it to Ms. Garcia.
This petition was given to all seniors at Lee College, at Impact Early College High School, as well as the families of seniors at Stewart Career Center, and just anyone that wants to support our cause. It wasn't open to everyone at the other high schools, but just the people that we felt are most included in this. So that's all I have to say today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker, and I apologize if I say your name wrong, is Zaladli Ruiz. I'm sorry. Teach me how to say that.
My name is Citlali Ruiz.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Citlali Ruiz, and I am the Student Honors Community Representative for the Lee College Honors Student Council, along with an Impact Ambassador and GCCISD PR squad member. I'm here to speak as part of the Impact graduating class of 2023 to represent our feelings towards the moving back Impact graduation to the Lee College arena from the stadium. Friday night lights, team spirit, football games, and big wins. That's a connection many people have to Stallworth Stadium. Impact students, however, don't have that strong connection like the other high schools have towards the stadium. The place we hold deep in our hearts, that we have poured our spirits into, is Lee College. From the moment we entered Impact as freshmen, we have grown a beautiful connection with the idea of graduating at Lee College and how it would signify our unique experience of being an early high school college student. We entered Impact during our induction ceremony back in August of 2019. When we stepped on that stage, we became not only an Impact student, but also a Lee College student. The moment we think back on, that moment back in 2019, was the beginning of our story as a high school student. However, what better way for us to close this chapter in our lives in May than to close it back where we started off, at Lee College. For the last 4 years, we have walked between Impact and Lee College, attended many college classes, and became involved in the Lee College community. My experience as an early college student has left a large impression on me and that of many other students in my community. We have to thank our district, our staff, and teachers, both at Impact and at Lee College, for allowing us to have such a wonderful, unique opportunity. We wish you will take our words into consideration when discussing Impact's graduation and moving it back to the Lee College arena. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker will be Kene Granados.
Hello, good evening. My name is Kanai Granados, and I am a student at Impact Early College High School. I'm here to convince you, the Board of Trustees, to reconsider your decision and let Impact hold the graduation at the Lee College Arena. As you know, the district made the decision to change the graduation venue of all 5 high schools in the district to that of Star Wars Stadium. This decision came as a complete shock to myself and the rest of my peers. Impact Early College High School has traditionally held its graduation at the Lee College Arena. And learning that we wouldn't graduate there upset most of us. Even more shocking was the way in that we thought that Impact was excluded from this decision and the rationale behind the decision to change the graduation of the big schools like Lee, Sterling, GCM. I understand why it was changed to Star Wars Stadium. The previous graduations held at the University of Houston were expensive and commuting there was difficult, so it makes sense that they would consider holding it at Star Wars. This stadium is historical and memorable. They've held graduations there before. However, what didn't make sense for us is how they applied it to all 5 schools, including Impact. Impact has always held the graduation at the Lee College Arena. For us, Lee College is like a second home to us. We don't have a connection to Star Wars Stadium. We don't have a traditional sports team or school team to support. We don't have experience with Friday night's lights. Why should Impact, be forced to hide their own traditions in turn for the traditions of the 3 big high schools? For us, Lee College is memorable. We go to classes there for 4 years. We dream of walking the arena like most of our older peers and for some of us, family. For us, graduating at the Lee College Arena symbolizes a great triumph and an honor we earned after taking classes there. Now the triumph has been taken away from us and for what seems to be no reason. And practically, Lee College is walking distance from our school. It has come at no cost and we have always graduated there. I urge you, the school board, to listen to our grievances and reconsider your decision.
Thank you very much. Yeah, go ahead. Our next speaker is going to be Priscilla Guerrera.
Hello, everyone, the board and fellow Spartans here today. My name is Priscilla Guerra, a junior at Impact Early College High School. While I may not be graduating with the class of 2023, I do know this. If Star Wars Stadium becomes the place where we Spartans last see before we leave, I will never forgive myself for letting it become a precedent. I'm not supposed to be here today. In fact, I'm supposed to be at debate practice for the Lee College Mendoza Debate Society. You see, we Spartans aren't your typical high school students. While we may be students at Impact, we're also Lee College navigators as well, and we take that with pride. We don't have sports or extracurricular activities like the others that connect us to the stadium. What we have is our academics and the chance to prove and find ourselves through the Lee College classes and the clubs that they offer us. We have a whole college campus, just a 15-minute walk across Bicentennial Park at our fingertips. And it is a commute us Spartans know all too well, noted by the calluses on our feet. Many of us have made memories with the Lee College campus, whether it be with the clubs we have joined to establish that connection, such as SGA, Peers Against Tobacco, debate, or even the after-school hangouts at the gym, or the quick lunch breaks that we would take to run over to the Cafe 34. We spend half of our school week at the Lee College campus. Even if we have a GCCISD break, we still make that long commute there for our classes. This proves that we have connection with this campus, that we have connection with the Lee College campus itself. We participate in their fall fiesta and their spring fling. We collaborate with professors during our study halls and breaks, and we get help from the Lee College Writing Center when the 5-page essay becomes too much to handle. Our home is not Star Wars Stadium. We don't have late night football games or crazy pep rallies or homecoming dances like the others. We have late night study sessions at the ATC building and competitive volleyball games in the racquetball room. Our culture at Impact is one that cannot be compared to any other high school at GCCISD. Our culture is unique. We must do the change you wish us to do. We're being the giants that you advertise us to be. So let us make the change you want us to make. Change graduation, and let us continue to embrace our culture here at Impact. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker tonight will be Rebecca Curry.
In GCCISD, we have been raised and taught to be giants, and we have also been taught that giants stand up for what they believe in. So without further ado, good evening and hello. My name is Rebecca Curry, a junior at Impact Early College High School. Being at Impact means that I'm also a student at Lee College. Aside from the 6 clubs that I'm a member of at Impact, I am also co-captain of the Lee College debate team, former president and current secretary of the Student Honors Council, members of the Honors Program, and secretary of the Student Government Association. Before I came here today, much like Priscilla, I had to leave debate practice early and get our topic panel set up for the rest of our competitors. I also had to attend an SGA event. I spend more time at Lee College than my own home. In fact, it has become more than the home, the place that I sleep at night. A connection that is felt by all Impact students. We are here today to ask you, once again, to change the location of our graduation from Starworth back to Lee College. As mentioned in the last time that we were here, Impact and Stewart were not included in the initial survey that was sent out to high school students. When we were blindsided by this news of the change, it was set our school into a mourning period. Mourning the traditions that we have established for ourselves over the years, mourning our last chance to spend our final moments not only as GCCISD giants, but also Lee College navigators at the place we treasure the most, the big arena, or what we call the big gym. Unlike the other students that attend RSS, Lee, and GCM, we have no emotional connection to Starworth. The Impact program is unique as it is a hybrid program. We don't have Friday night lights. We have nationally ranked debate teams, clubs, and honors programs at the college. Impact brings credibility to the district, so why can't the district make a collaboration with us in turn for that service to allow us to change our graduation back to Impact Early College back to Lee College, excuse me. Now, members of the board and Dr. O'Brien, I have to ask you, how much does it cost to have 5 graduations at Starworth with the lights, the security, the custodial staff, the setup, and the PA systems? Why choose to spend more money when Lee College, Dr. Villanueva herself, has offered us the big gym free of charge? Please allow us to protect our traditions and save the district a little bit of money. Making us graduate at Starworth is similar to making a Texan's last meal be In-N-Out rather than Whataburger. As I opened my speech the last time I was here, and I would like to end with it today, the rivalry between Impact and Stewart is comparable to the rivalry between Lee High School and Sterling High School. So being here today, united on the issue of our graduation, you can tell that this is kind of a big deal. We don't play Friday night lights. We play 4 days a week in Lee College classes. We are Spartans by chance, but navigators by choice. Please allow us to bring back our traditions, uphold our traditions, and keep our graduation at Lee College where we have emotional connection to, not Starworth Stadium. Thank you for your time, and we really hope that you consider our proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rebecca, I think you could get a side hustle as an auctioneer. that was awesome. Our final speaker tonight will be Kim Kostek.
You got jokes. I didn't even time this, so I hope I'm good. Okay. So, good evening, members of the board and Dr. O'Brien. So, I proudly served on our district anti-bullying committee from its inception, and I believe that there are pieces missing that I have attempted to address on multiple occasions and formats. So, one of which is our goals. It has been unclear on what they are as presented to the committee and what we are actually working towards. I also believe that our new student services director is amazing and should be charged with facilitating the district anti-bullying committee meetings, as it is her department that is actually responsible for overseeing bullying within our district, and it should be flipped, that social emotional learning should be supportive to her instead of the other way around. Now I think we can do that. So I believe by doing this that we will be able to achieve more data-driven action and see things like several campuses that have 0 documented reports of bullying last year that I uncovered in my research.
So I would also like to see that the committee discuss why certain cases may or may not have been substantiated, and clear, transparent conversation on how to follow through, or how we are following through with services that are provided to both the victim and the bully. A common issue that I've heard in forming campus committees is that parent involvement, and I'm really confused about this because when we first put out for the anti-bullying committee, there were approximately 200 parents that applied to be on the district committee. So I don't know why any campus is struggling to have any parent involvement. It is disappointing to know that so few campuses have had their meetings to date, and this is really not acceptable, and it should not be negotiable. And in fact, in your presentation, Austin Elementary had their meeting on my birthday, September 28th, and it's not included in that. So I believe that the ABC should charter a clear structure of members and expectations of monthly meetings within the campuses, and that they would be unique to that level. In short, what are our short and long-term goals? How are we measuring them? And what is the timeline? I did that in under 3 minutes, so I'd also like to say that as somebody that wanted to bring graduation home, it was never our goal to bring impact and Stewart career here, and I support these kiddos. It is different. Tradition matters. Thank you.
All right, that concludes public comment tonight. We will move now to the approval of minutes. First consideration of the August 29th, 2022 special board meeting. I would seek a motion.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion from Mrs. Guy and a second from Mrs. Woods to approve the August 29th special board meeting minutes. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed and abstain. As 5-4, 1 abstention, motion passes. Now consideration of the September 6, 2022 regular board meeting. I would seek a motion.
I'll move to approve.
I have a motion from Mrs. Guy and a second from Mrs. Barat-Timms to approve the September 6, 2022 regular board meeting minutes. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. 6-4, 0 against, motion passes. We'll move now to discussion items. Dr. O'Brien.
Yes, this evening for the superintendent's reports, we have 3. I'll go ahead and introduce the speakers for each, and they'll come up one following another. The anti-bullying committee update will be provided by Dr. McCall and his team. The AVID annual update will be provided by Dr. Bollinger and his team. And the personnel update will be provided by Mr. Chapa and his team.
You will each have 3 minutes. Mr. Sampson will time. Oh, wait. Sorry. Get Rebecca to do it.
Give me 1 second trying to find it here. Okay, good evening, President Clem, Board of Trustees, and Dr. O'Brien. We are here today to give you an update on the anti-bullying committee for GCCISD, the district level, as well as speak about some campus implementation. So the purpose and desired outcome, which we have shared with this board a few times as we've come up to present this information, is we want to provide a safe and secure learning environment for all students and staff, so that students can interact and thrive at school, in the community, and the workplace. We understand that we have a responsibility, and as in Here We Grow Giants, we want to make sure that our students, once they exit our system, are prepared for appropriate behaviors, not only while they're in school, but once they exit our system, no matter what they decide to do after graduating high school. So we're just going to take a look back at the 2021-2022 school year. We presented before you in June of 2021 and also in December. We started our monthly district level anti-bullying committee meetings. During those meetings, we had a pretty set agenda. Sometimes we would present some different information or have some different data to present based on the recommendations or the request of certain committee members. But for the most part, we talked about an overview of district data. whether it be discipline data, where's the discipline happening, and then we received some feedback towards the middle of the school year that we really wanted to focus on just anti-bullying data, and so we specifically focused on substantiated versus unsubstantiated claims at that time. We also had campus spotlights. I'll credit Dr. Reminick with this idea. We wanted to be sure that our campuses were, providing information to the committee as it relates to their PBIS programs on campus. What were they doing for anti-bullying measures? What programs did they have in place to promote character education? And were they, in fact, doing the Character Strong lessons in their buildings on Wellness Wednesdays? And so Dr. Reminick and I would walk the buildings on Wednesdays just to make sure that those character education lessons were happening the way that they needed to happen. We also reviewed the bullying checklist documentation, as well as various bullying scenarios to really have an in-depth conversation and provide education to the committee members on whether or not a situation was considered bullying based on the definitions that were provided to them, as well as going through the bullying checklist to make sure everyone in the committee understood. It really served as a learning opportunity not only for the parents and the students that were involved in the anti-bullying committee, but also anytime we have an opportunity to work with our principals and assistant principals and our student wellness interventionists, which make up the majority of the committee, I think it's always a great reminder because we unfortunately have to deal with these situations on a daily basis. And then we also spent some time after receiving information from TEA, designing what those committees should look like at the campus level. We received quite a bit of committee feedback as we continue to go through the process. In spring of 2022, we launched the Student Voice in conjunction with the Student Advocacy Committee. That is work that our SEL department did along with our Community Engagement department. There were student surveys for 3rd through 12th grade students, really giving them an opportunity to use their voice to let us know what their thoughts were. And then we also had student roundtables, which gave us an opportunity to get some qualitative responses from our students. You'll be really surprised. Our elementary students were extremely vocal, and they had a lot to say about what they would like to see on the campuses as it relates to anti-bullying measures, equity on the campus, what they perceive as far as their relationships with their teachers and administrators, them believing that they can go to any adult on the campus for help. These are all questions that were posed to our students to really give them an opportunity to use their voice. And so we took that student voice information and we presented it to various groups. Our district anti-bullying committee received the data. Our student advocacy committee, of course, received it. We took it to district administrators meetings, whether it was the assistant principals meeting, the principals meeting, or even the directors meeting. And so we wanted to make sure that that information made it across our organization, and then also our on-campus instructional leadership teams, because we know that instruction is very important, but we have to make sure that our students are in a great headspace to receive that instruction. Looking back at spring/summer, we introduced the TEA campus anti-bullying guidelines to the committee. If you all can remember, the Texas Education Agency released what's called a proposed minimum requirements document in March of 2022. We received that letter and we began to use that letter as a means to come to the committee and start developing what our campus committee should look like. We were expected to receive final rulings July 1st of 2022. I believe that based on some occurrences across the state, we're looking at more of physical safety issues as it relates to the Uvalde Elementary situation. A lot of those resources have shifted over to providing physical safety for campuses. And so at this time, and it's October, we have yet to receive the final rulings, but we did not let that stop us in creating campus committees. If we should receive some final rulings, as soon as we receive that, we'll make any modifications that we need to make. But I do believe we're headed in the right direction, so I don't anticipate too many changes that we'll need to make. For summer 2022, transition meetings and camps, very important when students are transitioning from one level to the next, that our district level and campus level teams are meeting together to talk about particular students that may have some challenges that need to be addressed so that the welcoming campus is prepared on how to support that student. And so we want a warm handoff from the receiving to the receiving campuses. And so that means taking the student to the campus ahead of time and giving them somewhat of an orientation. This is where your classes are. This is where the cafeteria is. Trying to remove as many barriers so that they will not become frustrated. Also showing them where to go where they need help. Here's where your counselor's office is, your assistant principal's office, your main office. So really just helping them through that transition, because it's hard, especially when you have any type of academic or behavioral challenges. And we want to involve the campus leadership as well, in which we do. And so we bring them to the table to just have a discussion and look at the data to make sure that the receiving campus is prepared. Also, with our transition camps, and I credit Dr. Reminick's department as well as Ms. Smith's department, they spend a great deal of time talking to students and parents about how to get help if your student needs help, whether it's academic help, whether it's counseling supports, whatever it is you may need, just knowing that those resources are on campus and where to go to receive them. We reviewed those proposed minimum standards, and we just wanted to make sure before we reconvene with our district anti-bullying committee for this year that we had the most updated information. We did contact legal counsel just to make sure that we didn't miss anything. Typically, we receive updates from TEA from the Office of the Commissioner, but we didn't receive anything, but we just wanted to make sure. And so she confirmed for us that the last information that was sent out regarding anti-bullying was back in March, and so we moved forward with that. Our campus-level anti-bullying committees were developed. We met with campus leaders to make sure that we went over the minimum standards on what their anti-bullying committee should be. We actually started that work in the late spring semester, making them aware that this is something that you're going to have to get going as you continue to hire, fill those positions. But we also know that over the summer we hired some new assistant principals and principals. And so we had to review this information again in July with them to make sure that they knew the expectations for developing the committees, and then also what members of the committees had to be present for us to be in compliance. And so I'll go through just this information briefly because I know you all are familiar with it. This is to the administrator address that came out March 31st of 2022. They were receiving information and welcoming feedback to submit public comments as it relates to the committees. We took this information and we just began to go over it with our principals and assistant principals and our district anti-bullying committee. We spent some time talking about those proposed minimum standards that are listed there. There are quite a few there. The standards address what the anti-bullying committees require, what positions are recommended from school psychologists, administrators, counselors, members of threat assessment teams, school resource officers, parents and students, of course, as developmentally appropriate. And then there are also some guidelines there on what we should be doing on the proactive side as far as a character education system where we're talking about anti-bullying measures. And we have dedicated times throughout the year that we're giving students information on anti-bullying or bullying prevention, and then how they can report it and who they can talk to, or how they can advocate not only for themselves, but if they see something, to say something. And so we covered all of that information, not only with our anti-bullying committee, but also with our campus leadership. At this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Reminick to talk about the campus committee meetings.
Good evening. We utilized the information from TEA, as Dr. McCall just shared, and we vetted out the information that we needed for our district. So we determined that at the beginning of each grading cycle, we asked the campuses to please host their campus level meetings. So we would have a total of 4 per year. We also shared with them that they could utilize their instructional leadership team as a venue to have the meetings, because TA says that it's okay for us to combine those like meetings. And actually on the ILT meeting, we do have parents that are part of that. So that was recommended to our committees. We also asked them to just add the bullying as a topic to the agenda and list all the items. We also, again, asked for 1 parent representative per grade level for 3rd through 12th grade, and then 2 student representatives per grade level as well. On the screen, you'll see some of the proactive measures that we have in place, because, again, we want to stay on the proactive side, and we don't want it to turn into discipline measures. So on the left is the check and review. And with that, we utilize our counseling and student wellness network, where we're required to have certain topics taught to students. So that fell right into line with to the administrator address letter. So we were sharing with the campuses that we don't want to overwhelm the work that you're already doing because it is essentially the work that we're required to do. PBIS is also the supports that we have that's available to all students and staff on each campus, and then of course the bullying checklist. So those things were already in place, so looking at the information that they're requiring of us, we have those things available.
How many campus committees do you have?
All of our campuses.
Every campus has a committee.
We've asked every campus to create a committee. And so when we even look at point, we have to get creative, right? Because they're not the same. So we ask them to identify a parent at large, and if they have a student that's willing to participate, to include that student.
So with the first anti-bullying district meeting that we had 5 campuses present. Each campus will have an opportunity through our monthly meetings to show and prove that they have an anti-bullying committee, what was discussed at their last meeting. And you'll see a little bit of that as we go through the presentation, the 5 campuses that presented last week.
All right, the next slide is actually the bullying data. I actually gave you a hard copy. You have that in front of you. If you look, the blue is indicative of the victim substantiated, and these are broken down in from 2019-20 to current. The victim unsubstantiated will be in orange. Then the gray is your subject substantiated, and the yellow will be your subject unsubstantiated. That is based on individual students. So if you look, I broke that down on the front page for you on data detail. Therefore, for each of those years, school years, you'll see in parentheses the actual number of investigations, because the number of investigations does not match your numbers because you could have 1 subject and 5 victims. So it does break it down a little differently. So you can see based on feeder patterns, in 1920, your feeder patterns, GCM actually had 9, Robert E. Lee 23, RSS 31, and other would be your Stewart Career Tech and or Impact, as that is listed. And then it's also broken down by elementary, junior high, and high school. And then if I did see any repeat, may it be subjects or victims, I broke that down for you by each year as well. Any questions on that?
I'll make a comment because I remember when I first came on and I was new. When I first came on and I was new, they reported that there was only a handful of reported cases. And I didn't know anything about it, but I thought, man, doesn't seem right.
And Mr. Renteria, I will say that that's one of I certainly attribute that to the work that we did with the anti-bullying committee last year. I think in educating, giving people information, campus leadership, doing some district communication campaigns, it really gave people the information they need to feel comfortable. And we know that, bullying happens in schools. We just need to know about it so that we can address it. So I agree with you. I think that's certainly one of the positives that came out of the anti-bullying committee work last year.
Absolutely. And, we got recognized by the state. My question to you is, do you think that the state would use us as a model? Because that's why they recognize us.
Absolutely. I think that we certainly we're ahead of the game. When I speak to other school districts, and they're just now starting their district anti-bullying committees this year because, like most, they were waiting on Texas Education Agency to give us the guidelines. I truly believe beyond just the anti-bullying committee, having a SEL department as well as a student services department that works closely together is certainly a benefit. We have a lot of systems in place in order to support students, whether it be on the proactive or, unfortunately, we have to deal on the reactive side sometimes as well. And so I think that we are truly making headway to lead the state in this area. I'm really excited about the work that we're doing.
I think in years past also, unsubstantiated claims were dismissed and not recorded and not logged. So it minimized the interactions that we had on a day-to-day basis throughout the district.
I think Mercedes asked, did you We have anti-bullying committees on each campus now. They've all submitted their list of their members and their meeting dates and all of that, or is that?
We're creating a platform where they're going to submit their names and meeting dates and upload them to their area executive directors.
Okay, because I know we heard from, about 6, 7 of them at the meeting the other day, but as far as the rest of the campuses, we don't know if they've actually formed and hosted any meetings yet?
So that's correct. So they will be responsible for bringing that information to us at our next anti-bullying committee update meeting. But I will say that the area executive directors, the platform is being created for them to upload all of that information and making sure, because we do have 30 campuses in the district, and so we can't, have all 30 present, but yes, we will be sure.
No, I know we can't have all 30 present, but we should have all 30 present.
They are,
Well, we were missing some at our meeting the other day, and we're only meeting how many times?
4. We have 4 meetings for this semester, and then remember we gave the dates for next semester pending.
Right now, okay, because I know we have the October 24th meeting coming up. So we're meeting monthly, and we're expecting them to meet monthly. We're in October, and we don't know if the ones who didn't present to us have actually formed and started having their meetings.
Yes, so
they need to report that to us at October 24th. We need, not report to the whole committee, but they need to turn something in to y'all at October 24th meeting saying, okay, this is what we've been doing, because we didn't just start yesterday.
Got it.
Yeah, we're in October.
I also went ahead and Xeroxed. I wasn't sure if y'all were familiar. I know you've seen the bullying checklist, but attached behind that are all of the documents that actually goes with that actual investigation for each individual administrator.
I appreciate you doing that, and I actually have a question. So I just know I was flipping through here, and I see the form letters that we use, et cetera. I wanted to ask a question about the stay away order. How are those enforced? I mean, honestly.
Whenever the administrator gets both of the students and the parents to sign, they are monitored, and if one violates it, it is quickly reported. Either student will report that so-and-so has violated this agreement, and at that point, they actually go to our
So
DA.
hypothetically, if this happens on a high school campus and it's a he said, she said, because we can't find it on the video camera, I get emails. So that's why I'm curious, because I know that, it's he said, she said. We have no evidence of this happening on our video cameras. So if a student comes up and says, this person will not quit following me, or it shows up everywhere, I have this stay away order, are we listening? Are we dismissing?
No, I can assure you, because I get calls on,
I'm sure you do.
Or on a weekly
I'm sure
basis,
you do.
that they are calling to let me know so-and-so violated the stay away agreement, and we're in turn,
and then
depending on the
you would
nature.
go back to that campus administration and do something, okay? Because technically it should be handled on campus through their system, but I'm not sure that always happens.
And if
we
it's
need more police officers on campus.
I object.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Just FYI.
Well, so I was thinking I'm going to ask this to Dr. McCall, I guess. I would ask Randy, but since he put you up there, I'm going to ask you, and then he can address it with you.
Okay.
How do you feel about turning that over to her, the student services now? And hold on a minute.
Okay.
And how do you feel about having a co-parent sponsor with her on that committee?
If you can give me a little more information on what you mean by co-parent sponsor.
I think you're
having a public,
like SHAC,
a parent.
and then some of the other committees in the district. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Because I know we have pretty set formulas for how some of those committees work. So, and this one is pretty new.
I can answer technically. It falls under Dr. McCall because he's Deputy of Administrative Services, which is one of these things, but we subcommittee things all the time. Right. We sub things out, so.
Certainly not opposed to that. And as far as, Carrie Smith leading the initiative, I have a lot of faith and confidence in her to do that, but this team is still going to be together. And so our roles are still going to be connected, and we're still going to support.
But she handles, I was listening, she's handling it. So
yeah, she's doing a fantastic job, especially for her to be new to the role.
Well, all of y'all do.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to minimize the work y'all have done.
That.
I'm just, maybe we can shift it a little bit,
I'll be happy, but I definitely need
Well, yeah.
my support here
Right.
on the social
Absolutely,
side.
absolutely.
There are things that go with this that I am not.
Right. Well, don't worry. If you do something, they're going to let you know.
No, we're going to say, no, that's her. Y'all wanted her.
But it was just a question. I think that having a parent working with her would be great.
Absolutely. We did have more, but in the interest of time, do we want us to continue? Okay.
Let's make it to the end.
Okay.
Okay, so we did have the campuses that are listed on the screen. They presented on their first meeting at our last district level meeting.
Okay.
And so we're going to just share briefly some of the work that they shared. So we have Banuelos. You can see they have their members and their meeting dates listed. They also talked about their pledge and their meeting minutes. They also showed where they report bullying. Then we have Bowie Elementary. They talked about all of the things that they have in place at their campus and some of the activities that they are doing to ensure that the students are successful and that we are highlighting the students' different special groups and interventions as well. Harlem Elementary showcased their bullying prevention kickoff, and so pictures were included there. And on this one right here, the guidance lessons and activities for the 22-23 school year is listed there, and all of the different posters that they have on the mirrors around and the posters around the school as well. And that was Highlands Elementary. And this one is Lamar. You can see their students and their committees listed there along with their meeting dates. Victoria Walker. They showed, of course, the website and then the counselor's box where students can also physically go in and put a note like old school whenever they need some help. Then on the top, there's a web page where the students can go and get resources and also ask for help as well. And then this one was the anti-bullying pledge on their morning announcements. They do it every Monday, and it's posted in the classroom. We're getting ready to take a look at Start with Hello, which is a student ambassador type program, and it ensures that students are not isolated and that we're recognizing students that may need, some additional supports, and we're all just having a caring environment. So we're taking a look at that this month, and then we will discuss as a subcommittee at the end of the month our thoughts on the Start with Hello, which comes from our Safe Schools. October 19th is Unity Day, so please wear orange. Mark your calendar. Around the district, we will be wearing orange for kindness, acceptance, and inclusion, which is a part of anti-bullying.
So here before you, you have our fall 2022 district level meeting dates. We meet on Mondays from 5 until 6:30 at the Hugh Echols Public Service Building. Our first meeting was, as you know, on September the 26th, and then we have one on October 24th, November 28th, and then in December, because things are, always kind of busy during that time, we'll do a committee check-in just to make sure that our campuses have those committees up and going. I will take the feedback received, Ms. Woods, to make sure that most definitely by October 24th and even before then, we will make sure that all of our campuses have that information uploaded, and we'll present that information to the committee. The goal is to have this committee turn into a council, which will meet on a quarterly basis once we have confirmation and feel confident that all of our campuses have their committees up and going, have their members, have evidence to show that they have their meetings going, and that we have that documentation uploaded so that way we can go and check in between quarterly meetings when we turn into a council. But we did go ahead and release spring 2023 dates in case we're not ready. And so we wanted to give that information to the district anti-bullying committee just to make sure that they have it marked on their calendars. But of course, before we go from a committee to a council, we will, provide this information to Dr. O'Brien and seek his approval in order to do so, and also provide all necessary documentation that's being requested to make sure that all of our campus committees are up and going.
The only other thing I would ask is that we receive a committee member roster. And you could probably just email that to Ms. Garcia and send it on to us.
For each campus, is that?
No, I'm talking about for the district level committee, just a current, this year's roster of committee members.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a quick question. I appreciate that you two are going on to campuses to make sure people are doing SEL, because I really think that is it's important when it comes to preventing the bullying and stuff. But are the campus administrators doing those walkthroughs and making sure that the teachers are participating every week? And because I really feel like SEL lives and dies on the principal's desk. If the principal's doesn't have buy-in, the campus doesn't have buy-in. So I feel like that's the most important piece right there. I know for sure that it wasn't happening in every classroom last year, just from conversations I've had at home. So just wondering if the campus administrators are doing what you are doing.
Yeah. So for our walks that we do on Wellness Wednesdays, we pick a certain school to go to every week. I will say that our secondary campuses have a little bit more of a struggle with it, more so than our elementary campuses, and so we target those schools. So when we go, we do ask the principal to come with us. If they're not available, we'll get an assistant principal or an SSA to walk with us. But if we're not seeing what we need to see in classrooms when we pop in, we immediately go and meet with the principal to give them that feedback and say, we're coming back and this is what we expect to see next time. And so I think that, for me to say that every single principal is gung-ho SEL, I'm not going to stand there and tell you that. But what I will say is there is an effort to make it happen on their campuses. And so if we are, monitoring that, inspecting what we expect is what we say, then we know that we'll begin to continuously see those behaviors increased. I think our elementary campuses do a fantastic job with it. I'll just be very honest with you. Every time we, go on an elementary campus, especially when we started this work last year, we were just blown away. But, secondary campuses is where we really have to drill down a little bit more. I think that, sometimes people think, oh, that's just for the counselor or that's just for the student wellness interventionist. But no, a lot of times the teachers are the first individuals that know when a student is not their best. And so we're having to do that work on our secondary campuses.
Yeah, and the secondary teachers aren't as touchy-feely as elementary teachers, and so that makes a difference also.
Yes.
But I also don't feel like it's too much to ask for the principals and APs and counselors on every campus to just kind of walk through and visit classrooms and make sure that it's happening because I'm assuming that it's supposed to happen at a certain time every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday, yes, ma'am.
I don't know why everybody can't be, I know things come up and emergencies happen, but for the most part, there shouldn't be a reason why those people on campus can't help with that.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
So that's it. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, thank you very much. We appreciate your report and all your time and effort.
Annual AVID report up next.
Okay, good evening, members of the board. Dr. O'Brien, we're here to present an annual report on our AVID program, give you some updates on what is AVID doing in our district and at our campuses. Want to first of all introduce ourselves. Kim Fox, Kendall David, Anna Espinoza is not here, but the four of us work together to coordinate the AVID system district-wide. And so all of our secondary campuses have AVID coordinators, And then at the district level, we provide support. We meet with our coordinators each PLC day just to make sure that we're doing the work and moving forward with AVID. So what is AVID? AVID started over 40 years ago, started in one classroom, 32 students. Catherine Swanson was the teacher in Southern California, and she was working in a diverse high school, and she noticed that some of her students, though they had academic potential, they did not have the guidance or the tools or the resources to go towards college, to get them into college, to be college ready. And so she asked her principal at that time if she could grab a group of students, form an elective class, and that's really how AVID was born. And so this model has been replicated over the last 40 years. Currently, there's over 2 million students in AVID, over 300,000 educators who work with AVID, who are trained in AVID. And so that's how it started. AVID has a belief very similar to what we all believe here, is that with high quality education, that students are able to break through barriers, including generational poverty. AVID is a program that tends to target students who are in the academic middle, maybe students who are typically underserved, and it gives them additional tools, additional resources to get them college ready and career ready. And so that's the premise of it. This is AVID's mission statement, and I wanted to spend just a little bit of time on it. AVID's mission is to close the opportunity gaps by preparing all students for college readiness and success in a global society. And so I think when we see opportunity gaps, what does that mean? It's making sure that students have opportunities to access college readiness courses, such as advanced level courses or dual credit courses. In Goose Creek, we do such a good job, in my opinion, of removing financial barriers to make sure that students have access not only to the AP courses, but also the AP exams and dual credit courses as well. It's also given students opportunities to know how to navigate the college system. It's a complicated system. Learning how to, many of us who are parents who work with students, our own children, it's complicated to fill out the FAFSA. It's complicated to know how to complete applications, scholarship applications. And when there's a teacher who cares about their kids, who walks students through this process, then we yield positive results from that process. And so that's what's exciting. Also, it's an opportunity to build confidence and to build endurance and hope in students who have the potential but may not believe it. And so that's the power of the teacher. And so that's what AVID is. In Goose Creek, AVID has done several positive things that we want to share. First of all, it helps promote a college-going culture within our students. When we see success stories from all of our students who accept, and you'll see that here in a second, students who get college acceptance letters or who win scholarships and receive this, and previously they didn't think they had the ability to do that. It builds that culture throughout the school. Also, AVID promotes several instructional strategies. Kendall's going to talk about that later on in our presentation. But there's several strategies we know that engages students in a more active way, and also it pushes their thinking to the next level. And so throughout our district, in our anchor documents, also in our instructional framework, we have AVID built in district-wide through our curriculum and instruction department to make sure that our teachers are trained in AVID strategies, because they impact all students. Specifically in Goose Creek, these are just some good nuts and bolts numbers. We have AVID at 5 high schools, our 3 traditional high schools, as well as Impact and Stewart Career Tech High School. We have AVID at all of our junior schools. And at the secondary level, AVID is an elective class that students apply for. So they apply to take AVID, there's an interview process, and they're accepted. So in total, at the secondary level in Goose Creek, we have over 1,700 students who are in our AVID system. This year, we've also chosen to pilot 3 elementary schools with AVID. Now, it looks a little bit different at the elementary level. It's not an elective class. We roll out AVID strategies by the grade level. So the school chooses maybe 4th grade, we're going to work on organization, or 3rd grade, we're going to work on writing strategies across the curriculum. But we're working with 3 elementary schools to pilot that, and we're hoping to grow that as well. And then also, the last statistic here is this past year, we had over 150 students who were in AVID who graduated. And so we've built a strong system of students who are going through AVID, and then we're seeing successful rates. One statistic I jumped over on accident, I'm going to go back to it real quick because it's powerful, is that last statement right there, that AVID students, when they're given the right support, they're 4 times more likely to graduate from college than their national peers who are not in AVID. So it's a proven system. Okay, next Kim's going to talk a little bit about some of our accomplishments.
Good evening. I get to talk about some exciting giant news. So you might see a familiar face on that slide. One of our giant impact moments is really talking about our Goose Creek Memorial. In the AVID world, talking about a national demonstration campus, it's a pretty big deal. There are very few of them nationally and statewide. GCM did go through a very rigorous process to be certified at this level, and we really celebrate them and are very excited for that. So you're saying, what does a national demonstration school do? It really hosts that opportunity for other schools that are trying to attain that level to come and receive guidance, to see what it looks like, to really visit the school and immerse themselves in an AVID system with college readiness. The other thing it does is it makes it where it is evident across the school. It's not just the elective. It's not just one pocket. It truly is a school-wide model. So we do continue to celebrate our GCM accomplishment.
The one thing I noticed on that picture right there is that Randy had a good haircut.
Dr. O'Brien, you had a great haircut in that picture, sir.
Just thought I'd point that out.
So also celebrating our kiddos, celebrating the successes. Dr. Bollinger referenced the over 150 22 graduates. Almost 87% of those kiddos took a college level course, being dual credit or AP. Almost 80% of them applied to a 4-year college, and almost 75% of them were accepted to those 4 years. 89% of our graduates plan to attend a college or university, and 4% were going to a technical or military. Celebrating more. We do have an incredible local scholarship. Our community supports our kids. We really celebrate our local scholarships. But one really big one we wanted to highlight were a couple of our AVID kiddos receiving a really big honor with the Dell Scholars. So here we have 3 of our kiddos, over $20,000 each, also getting some technology supports with laptops. But it also really goes with the supports that those scholars receive. The Dell Scholarship is a huge accomplishment, and we're proud to say that some of our AVID kids attained that.
All right. So in talking about what we do to prepare for the year, we kick off each instructional year with Summer Institute. And so if you've ever heard about Summer Institute, those of us that have attended, it is incredible professional development. It's hosted by national staff developers, and these are individuals who are working at AVID schools. They are who host each of the sessions. This year, we sent a little over 100 staff members. It consists of a team of about 6 from every AVID school, and we wanted to make sure that there was a principal or AVID administrator with each of those teams. And we also took a district team of about 10 so that we can have that alignment from, district and curriculum and instruction also down to the campuses and their teams. Like I said, there's great sessions offered, over 35, and you may be thinking that they're all about AVID, and that's not the case. They're really about research-based best practices. And so if you are a math teacher, you're not just going to hear about AVID and the effect it has on students. You're hearing about how you can apply best strategies in your math classroom at the secondary level, elementary level, whatever the case may be. The unique thing about AVID Summer Institute is the site team time. And so that gives our district teams the opportunity to come back together and really plan for our needs. This gives us the opportunity to align site team goals with the instructional focus of the campus. And so oftentimes you hear with initiatives, it's one more thing, right? It's something, you're adding this to our plate. The goal of Site Team Time is to take the AVID learning and apply that to support the instructional focus of the campus. We're also very proud to say that we have district representation as AVID National Staff Developers. Myself, Dr. Bollinger, are both staff developers at the AVID National level, and then we also have Dewana Miles, who's the Lee High School AVID coordinator, and Veronica Phillips, who's at EF Green as the AVID coordinator. And why that's important is the process to become a AVID national presenter or staff developer really focuses on adult learning and how to transfer those strategies to adults and model that so that they can take them back to their classrooms. So as you can guess, the more that we have adults who can train other adults, right, the more effective we'll be at our campuses. So what else? AVID is a foundational component of our instructional framework, and we really have C&I to thank for that, their support with ingraining AVID strategies into the instructional framework, making that a priority. This year, we trained all new teachers on WICOR strategies at new teacher orientation. That's really front-loading, giving them a very good basic understanding of those strategies. This year, we trained all K through 12 teachers using AVID strategies for culturally relevant classrooms. That was an outcome of the Student Advocacy Committee. It was incredible to watch. We had a district representative from every single campus in the summer sit through a 2-day training, and then it was a trainer of trainer models. Those individuals then took back sessions. One was at GiantCon. They did an incredible job, and the survey results show that. We also had a fall presentation, and we'll have one in the spring. And then also AVID provides a system of high engagement and rigorous instructional strategies through WICOR. So I've used that term a couple of times, and I'm sure you're wondering what that is. It's really a full instructional approach. It's a system to allow students to do the heavy lifting. They're empowered to take ownership of their learning. They're empowered to really take ownership of their thinking and push that to the next level. It involves a very intentional instructional decision-making model designed to give students the opportunity to show what they know and what they can do with rigorous content. And so oftentimes when we think of college and career readiness, we think of the traditional route, right? Exposure, giving access to college entrance exams, all of those things, motivating students to go to college. But one thing that some people really lack the process to think about is a lot of our kids go to college, 4-year universities, and they drop out. They fail because they lack the skills. AVID gives students skills to be successful at the college level, and that starts very, very early. So with the note-taking, with the organization, the ownership, the ability to think critically, AVID strategies really help prepare our students for college and career readiness. So what is it? WICOR stands for Writing, Inquiry, Collaboration, Organization, and Reading. And within each component, there are strategic strategies that you can integrate into any lesson to make it very rigorous and allow students to learn at higher levels.
This program is awesome. Yep. Too bad it was started 40 years ago. That was before my time. But having said that, I even made it. So this preparation for all these young people is awesome for them to be able to be here, you know. Yep. It was before Samson and Miss Tim's, too. So just saying. Don't act brand new over there, I heard you.
So how long before it's on all of our campuses?
Is there a plan for that?
Yeah, so it's at all of our junior schools. It's at most of our high schools. There may be a model for Peter Highland, but right now there's not a place for it, I would say. And then we have just started our elementary piece. And so our hope is to continue to roll it out at our elementaries until we hit all of our campuses. I would also say that it's sort of a two-part approach. One part of it is the elective class, where we have students in an elective class where they get high intensity. They have college tutors that come and work with them. We have a teacher who knows the college-going system and works with those students. But then we have AVID strategies for all students, where we're trying to improve and strengthen the culture at all of our schools, and that's where we train all of our teachers on using these strategies. So to answer your question, our hope is to continue to roll out elementaries until we hit all of them.
Got choked. Can't believe I couldn't talk.
First time for everything.
Yes. Yeah, I wonder, you have kids that are highly motivated or, can't stay on this track or whatever, and we try to classify them in a certain manner. I wonder would AVID be something that could keep them focused because the rigor is a little bit stronger than just normal. I know some kids that in class, they will finish their work and then they'll go try to play with other kids or try to help other kids. I wonder would AVID be something that maybe eventually we could move down to that fourth grade, third grade level also? Because I know some fourth grade kids that are 9 years old that are, way beyond some of the other kids. But I'm wondering if that could be a possibility in the future. I'm just curiosity, and I'm not a cat, so, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, so to answer your question, like Matt said, we do have 3 elementaries that are currently rolling out AVID school-wide, but what I will say to that is you're right. Oftentimes we see students who are not engaged for whatever reason. Either they know the content or they don't know the content, right? With AVID, the strategies really rely on higher level questioning regardless of where that student is, but also a lot of group work, collaboration, taking things to the next level. So we do see that students, when they're not engaged, oftentimes they're bored or they're not connecting to the lesson. AVID strategies really work to overcome that problem in classrooms.
Yeah, that was my curiosity because I know a few of them that do that and the teacher thinking they're, misbehaving or whatever, they just get bored.
Sure.
And so when they get bored, they wind up getting in trouble.
Well, and one thing to also talk about is AVID addresses lots of different types of learning. So many of you were probably this way, but in school, I like to talk and present and work with a partner. I didn't necessarily like to, write essays. And so each component will of WICOR will address a lot of different learning styles.
Yeah. Okay, that's all.
Just a comment, not a question, but I'm sitting here through 2 hours of a meeting so far and thinking, boy, we've talked about some very important things, but I wish we would have this lengthy discussion about some instructional model. And not only are we having it right now, but we're having it from a director of strategic planning, a director of counseling, and a director of marketing. And you guys are proving that the whole district truly is focusing on instruction. And you just made me feel really, really good about our district. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Mr. Chapa, Ms. Steele, and Dr. Wyatt will be presenting next our annual update on personnel. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Clam, Dr. O'Brien, and members of the board. Each of you received our annual personnel report and a PDF with the adjunct and the DOI educator information. I hope each of you had an opportunity to review all of the data. With me tonight are Ms. Steele and Dr. Wyatt, and we're here to cover all of the highlights from the report and here to answer any questions that you may have. So we'd like to go ahead and get started. We're going to start off with where did we come from, where we're going right now, and where we're going to be heading. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Wyatt.
It's only been 7 years. He didn't have my name down yet. I'm hoping by the decade mark. Starting off, looking at just the demographics of all of our employees, you can see here it's our last 6 years from 2017 through 2022, the current year. I just wanted to kind of point out a couple of things that I think are just kind of highlights. We have seen a 50% increase in our Black professional staff. We've seen a 35% increase in our Black teachers. We've seen a 40% increase in our Hispanic teachers. And then just in all of our other categories, in our professional and our auxiliary, we've also seen a large increase in our number of employees who are Black or Hispanic. So we're showing a much more diverse group of employees in all areas, which more reflects our community. If you look at, this is just the tenure of all of our employees. At the top, this is the tenure of all employees in Goose Creek, just how long they've been with us. The bottom is specifically focusing on our teachers. We see some good data here. We do see that we're still very heavy with the lower ends of experience. Just more people have been with us for a shorter period of time than those who have been with us for a longer period of time. And we have seen a touch of a drop around the 10-year mark. I will say, though, that is also a statewide issue. There's a lot of people who kind of leave education after about 10 years. So we do see that, but we also do see that we are not losing ground anywhere, which is also important, that we are still maintaining relatively the same numbers across. This is just the demographics of our new hired employees. You can see actually this year we actually had some very large number of minority teachers hired, more so than even in past years. You know, part of our just sort of really reaching out and looking for a lot of people this year with opening several new schools and everything else, but we were able to bring in a lot more people. These are the qualifications of our new hires, specifically looking at their years of experience. The thing to me that stands out there, this was an incredibly tough hiring year for everybody in education. We were all fighting for way too few candidates. What I like here is if you look at our more experienced hires, we didn't lose any ground. We were still able to hire about the same number of experienced teachers this year as we have in previous years, even though there were fewer people out there for us to hire. I attribute a lot of that to the signing bonus we did. I think that really did help us grab some experienced people and gave them that little extra nudge to drive on out here to Baytown and work with us. Now we're going to let Ms. Steele talk about kind of what are some of the big issues and what's going on right now.
Good evening. So I will be talking about the qualifications of our new hires. As you can see, we had a large number of our new hires that had full credentials with that standard certification. Again, a nod to the signing bonus where we required that standard. Then you can see our next largest group is our interns. So those are usually, first-year teachers that are in an ACP program pursuing their certification, and they're on that one-year intern certificate. This is also where our DOI candidates fall. They are pursuing that intern certificate, and we're working with them to get those credentials. And I'll talk a little bit more about what we're doing to support them. And then you can see our other categories. And so right now, we currently have 22 adjunct educators who we're still working with to get those credentials. When you go down to the years of experience, you can also see,
Go ahead.
You can also see our breakdowns per year. We do have a lot of 0 year that we hired into the district. But again, we're doing things to make sure that those 0 years are more credentialed. We want those university graduates. We're doing some initiatives to make sure that we are attracting and retaining those individual teachers. And so we're in a good spot as far as recruiting in the district. So for our adjunct educators, that was an initiative that was approved that really helped us close that vacancy gap. We were looking at educators who were fully, degreed and had a degree in the area that they were teaching. They just didn't quite have the teacher certification. But under our expanded DOI plan, we were able to credential a lot of them under our DOI status. And for the others, we were able to put them in the pathway to certification, whether we help them or they already had a program and were continuing to progress in that program. So of our 79 individuals that we hired, we already have 4 that have successfully crossed over to intern certificate status. So that was really great in the first few months of school. At the beginning of the year, we had 47 adjunct educators, and now we only have 22 because we have progressed the 25 individuals into a DOI status. We know that we have to provide wraparound services. So we're looking at, bringing them in, and we're doing a lot of PD to make sure that they understand what good teaching looks like. What are the safe and secure protocols? What does Behavior 101 look like? What is classroom management? And so every opportunity that we have during the professional learning days, we're pulling them, we're doing face-to-face training. And then we also know that going through an ACP program requires a lot of outside hours. So we're providing them time during the school day to complete a lot of those modules, upwards of 300 plus hours to become certified in Texas.
So where are we heading? If you look at the retirement forecast, and this is just for our teachers, you see there on the graph that you have, it's broken down by elementary all the way through the early college campuses, high schools, elementaries, and junior highs. And then the highlighted areas are those teachers that have the 30-plus years of experience. At the very bottom of the chart, you will see that you have your school year, the current school year, 22-23. Now, this is the potential of these many teachers that we have in the district that would be eligible for retirement with 30 years. We're looking at 43 educators that would be eligible for retirement this year, and then the numbers go on down. For campus professionals, you're talking about your principals, your APs, your counselors, diagnosticians, those individuals. They're all broken down in the same format, 30 years plus. This one we're not as too worried about right now, because this year there would be 4 that would be potential for retiring at the end of the year. And you see the breakdown for each year after that. And then for our non-campus professionals, that is for all others that are here, like, for example, at Central Office, our directors, our coordinators, those individuals at the end of this year will have the potential for possibly 19 to retire. So that concludes our presentation, and we'll take any questions that you may have. And the trophy.
Yeah.
It has been a total team effort, not only within the HR department, but also with CNI and everybody else working together and pulling resources and bringing ideas and working collaboratively. So it's been a total team effort.
And raises and bonuses.
Raises and bonuses.
I heard you. I know that already. But yeah, we want to stay competitive.
Absolutely. Anyone else? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. We will now move to action items. I believe in the interest of full transparency, let's pull 8A, the consideration of resolution and order for the proposed single-member district boundary plan. Pull that from tonight's agenda and request that Dr. O'Brien direct his staff to post a brightly colored conspicuous link on the homepage of our website to the maps and the demographic data, which is much enlarged so that the entire community can read it. And Mr. Gilbert, we do not have to open the public hearing again, do we? All right. At this point, I'm going to say we will not, unless you tell me statutes tell us we have to, and we would just go through public comment if folks have anything else to say about it. All right. All right. Thank you very much. So with that said, we will now move to 8B, consent agenda.
I want to give props to Ms. Harden, who was able to find it on the website.
Yes.
And Dr. Bollinger told me already that he'll be taking care of that to get it more conspicuously posted out there. Next,
and in all fairness, it gives them time to read it.
Yes.
Not just the same day. It's a lot of reading, so
yep.
Just in fairness to everyone.
All right. Thank you. We'll move on to item 8B, consideration of consent agenda. Number 1, donation from GCM Band Booster, as presented earlier. Number 2, select competitive seal proposal, CSP, as the delivery method for the Fieldhouse project. Number 3, budget and construction work for the Hopper Early Learning Academy renovation project. Number 4, select construction manager at risk, CMAR, as the delivery method for Stallworth minor renovations project. Number 5, third option to extend CSP for HVAC equipment, supplies, and related services. Number 6, second option to extend CSP for special education equipment, supplies, and services. Number 7, third option to extend RFP for electrical services. Number 8, first option to extend RFP for disposal of surplus technology items. Number 9, budget amendment. And I believe number 10 will require some conversation. So I would at this time recommend approval of the consent agenda items 1 through 9. We'll discuss calendar following that.
Would anyone like to pull an item for individual consideration or ask questions at this time? All right, then I would seek a motion. I'm sorry, Mr. Sampson?
What exactly are we going to do to Stallworth? I mean, I know we're going to do something to it. I'm just trying to let Brenda get up.
Ms. Garcia is going to tell you that. She happened to have that at her fingertips.
I knew I would get that question. That's why it says minor renovations on there.
Yeah.
Right. So for Stallworth, I just want to be very clear. We're not addressing any of the facility condition assessment results that we had talked about in the past. This project is mainly focused on getting our stadium ready for graduation in May. So a lot of the work that we'll be doing there is aesthetic, painting, signage, just making it look presentable. There is one part that is a major component. We will look to address the parking lot, which is a major portion of that work. And so that's basically the project.
That's one of the things I was concerned.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, then I would seek a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 9 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mrs. Woods and a second from Mr. Sampson to approve consent agenda items 1 through 9 as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. I see 6-4, 0 against. Motion passes. We'll move to item B10, reschedule the December 5th and the May 15th meetings. And Dr. O'Brien, would you like to make comment on that?
Yes, we have a conflict on December 5th, board meeting scheduled, conference conflict, I believe it is. And then on May 15th, we don't get the scores until the next day, May 16th. So
the kids will all know by then.
Yes.
Just ask them.
Yes, they will. So just asking you to look at your calendars tonight.
The recommendation in the board packet was to move each to the following Monday.
Yes,
so the December 5th would move to December 12th, and the May 15th would move to May 22nd. But we can move them anywhere you like.
That's the preference.
Everybody is looking at calendars right now.
I'm good on the December. I'm looking right now.
Okay, take your time.
Yeah.
Look, you want to go look? Yeah, go get it. Time out.
The 20, May 15th to the 22nd, you said?
Yes, sir.
I'm working nights and that.
What's that?
They also have to have time to set up the reception once we know who the students are, so it's not an overnight thing, right? Yes. May 1 is going to stay where it is. Yes. Right. No. Last year we didn't do it here because we did it at Green last year because the construction on the vestibule here had just begun. Yeah, right. Okay. Well, if we, right, you cannot promise anything in December nor May.
Well, you'll have a forum.
Okay. All right.
December
Mr. Sampson, are you?
Good?
I'm good.
All right.
Even if I'm not, I'm
Hey,
good.
us retired folks are busy, so don't play that card.
So administration would recommend the changes as discussed.
Seek a motion to approve. I have a motion from Mrs. Barat-Tim and a second from Mrs. Guy and I'll be specific, to move the December 5th meeting to December 12th and to move the May 15th meeting to May the 22nd. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? 5-4, 1 against, motion passes. Future board agenda items, trainings, or board meetings?
I have one. I was like, could we get a report on AP scores from this summer and compared to the last several years?
Do you want a written report or a written report, or do you want a board, a public, a superintendent's report?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Since a fair representation of the HR department is here, do we need to request information about our insurance plans at this point, or could you guys handle tonight's public comment without our help?
I think we can address that internally and
Maybe you could just shoot us, we took care of it, and then we would not have to request that report?
Absolutely.
That would be great.
Yeah, we can do that.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah,
I think we're all very well trained right now.
Another update on the bullying committees.
The campus, make sure they're in place.
And we have our next district level on October 24th, and then there's going to be one in November.
Okay, just for clarification, is the district committee the SHAC committee, or is there a whole, that's a whole separate, okay. I thought so, but sometimes it gets real gray when people start talking about it. All right. Anything else? Okay, you guys decide while I find my script.
The reason it's a little fuzzy on that is because in the beginning,
they were
SHAC was the supervising committee of anti-bullying.
All right. The board will now recess into a closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code sections 551.071, 072, 073, 074, 75, 76, 82, 83, 84, and 87. No action will be taken while the board is in closed meeting, and the time is 8:30. Thank you to all who stayed for the duration.
What month is this? How's it going, man? All right. You been all right?
All right. The board will reconvene into open session. The time is 10:43 p.m. No decisions were made while the board was in closed session. Turn the page. Consideration of personnel. Dr. O'Brien.
Administration would recommend that the board accept elections, resignations, and retirements as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion from Mrs. Woods and a second from Mr. Sampson to approve elections, resignations, and retirements as presented. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Seeing 6-4, 0 against, motion passes.
Administration brings before the board administrative positions as follows. Bianca G. Garcia as licensed specialist in school psychology.
I'll move to approve.
I have a motion from Mrs. Guy and a second from Mrs. Barat-Timms to approve the LSSP as presented. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. 6-4, 0 against, motion passes.
Next would be an instructional specialist for the mathematics department, Emily Makusa.
I'll move to approve.
A motion from Mrs. Guy, a second from Mrs. Barat-Timms to approve the instructional specialist as presented. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. 6-4, 0 against, motion passes.
And finally, a board certified behavior analyst, Charnel Hale.
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion from Ms. Woods and a second from Mrs. Guy to approve the board certified behavior analyst. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Mrs. Barat-Timms? 6-4, 0 against, motion passes.
Administration would push item 8G to the next available board meeting.
So pushed. The time is now 10:45 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned.
Yeah, I thought I was going to have to yawn my way through this.